Live from coast to coast like butter on toast, Bobby Orr style. We are back to Puckleheads. Season ending here. Now we go to the playoff previews. And as we always say, our predictions are spot on, have never been wrong.
Never. Not one.
Nice balmy 83 degrees here in New Jersey. Marcus, how's California? First off, how are you? How's life?
Doing very well. It's in the 70s here, so it's
I'm actually warmer than you right now. Look at that.
yeah, it's going pretty well. But yeah, it's been an exciting time. It's an exciting time of the year. Interesting to see how the playoffs are headed. I think we should begin, of course, with the elephant in the room and potentially the prospective MVP in the room, Connor McDavid. What a season! Only player to reach 100 points this year. Pretty much single-handedly turning the Oilers and proving once and for all that if you whiff on countless first-round picks and keep getting lottery picks, that you could luck into a once-in-a-generation talent.
Is that the strategy for most teams now, Marcus? Just to suck and eventually get it right after you get it wrong?
Just pray that you're like, oh, well, we'll try it with this guy.
Yeah, okay.
We'll miss on all our 2nd through 7th rounders, and then we'll hit on McDavid, and, people will want to play with us. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with him. I think. Do you think he's the MVP? I mean, I think if I had to have a vote,
I actually don't even think it's a discussion at this point.
Really?
I think he ran away with it. And, I was looking back from our early season predictions for our playoffs predictions, and neither of us had the Oilers in there. And I just think, listen, I knew he was good. He took it to a whole nother level this year when he was healthy. That team is average probably without him. I mean, they've done a better job improving their D, and Cam Talbot's been fantastic in goal. I actually be getting some Vezina consideration. He's been that good in Edmonton.
Yeah.
But he's been fantastic. And listen, no disrespect to Crosby, or, you can even talk Brent Burns or Erik Karlsson even in there with the MVP, or if you want to even throw
but made the playoffs, you could say Victor Hedman too.
You could say Victor Hedman and all that stuff. Kucherov was fantastic. But I think he's got 100 points on a team where he is by far the most important and best player. I think it's got to go to McDavid, and probably the first of many, if I'm going to be honest.
I wouldn't be too upset if he won it. I still think, given that Crosby played less games and how effective he's been in missing quite a bit of time, I think he had one of the best seasons of his career, led the league in goals despite playing 7 less games than just about everybody else around him. And also, Pittsburgh has dealt with a lot of injuries lately.
They have. Yeah, that's definitely consideration. Crosby's got to be the second right there. He's the guy you're going to argue with, I think. So those two guys, I would give it to McDavid, but, if Crosby won it, it wouldn't surprise me by any means.
Yeah, I think you can't really go wrong with either option. But we'll start with the Oilers and my San Jose Sharks, the defending Western Conference champions, taking on the Oilers in a first-round series. A bit of a weird series.
Yeah.
Sharks were 2-3 against the Oilers this year. The Oilers won the last 3. The 2 of those last 3, though, were without Logan Couture in both, and without Joe Thornton in the last game that the Sharks and Oilers played. And the Sharks could be without both of them in this playoff series. Now, the Sharks, of course, could miss those guys. They did return to practice, but it remains to be seen how effective they're going to be. Beat reporters around the team said that they looked good, but I mean, as you and I know, how much can you really glean from how a guy looks in battle drills and full ice skating when he's not in a game? Thornton's 37 years old. He's never really suffered significant injuries before, but when he has in the postseason, he played through a broken rib and he wasn't very effective. He apparently looked good. Couture dealing with basically is going to have to get all of his teeth removed this offseason surgically after taking a puck to the. After seeing that injury, and this is a divergence, I'll indulge briefly. After seeing that injury, I don't know how all NHL players aren't wearing cages. I know that the visibility would go down, but it's just reckless at this point. And it's not even that it's not even toughness, it's recklessness at this point. But I digress. So it remains to be seen how effective they're going to be. I'll get right to it. If they're not in the series and they're not effective, the Sharks have no chance. Marc-Edouard Vlasic and Justin Brown are the shutdown pairing. Justin Braun, excuse me. They haven't been very good this year. Have done well against McDavid, but still in a larger sample size against the rest of the league, they haven't been very good. So it remains to be seen. If those guys can be effective, I think maybe the Sharks can push them, but I have the Oilers winning this series in 6 games just because of how up in the air Thornton and Couture are. You mentioned Cam Talbot's been great. Martin Jones has not been great. He's
really
45th in the league in even strength save percentage, which is not very good at all. Cam Talbot's way up there. So I think, they have the edge in top end skill. Sharks probably have the edge in forward depth. Definitely have the edge on the blue line. 1 through 7, the Sharks might be one of the best groups, but I've got the Oilers in 6 here. We don't know how effective Thornton and Couture are going to be, and I don't think it's safe or smart to bet on them being effective.
Yeah, out of respect for the Sharks, maybe that they'll get a few. I got Oilers in 7 with maybe a dramatic Game 7 victory on home ice there. The Sharks have been downward trending for, the better part of 2 months here. Listen, this is an older team. I think they were built for a small window of success here. At least when you put your back on Thornton and the Marlows of the world, and even Brent Burns has been all world this year, but he's his
30 years old.
I was gonna say he's already 30 years old. He's not 26, so it's tough to say. Listen, the Oilers who I probably didn't take seriously until maybe January around the All-Star break, and that's when I kind of realized, holy hell, this team's actually got a chance, and they've climbed the ladder, and good for them. I think McDavid and Talbot are enough, and we talked about their decor, not quite what Pittsburgh was last year, Marcus. I think it's safe to say with their decor, they pretty much have about 4 second pair guys, and then a really solid third pair guy, and then you have Chris Russell, who we could debate on whatever you want. I'm not even going to go there because if somehow a Calgary beat writer gets on here, they're going to just lose it on me. So I'm not even going to start the debate. Regardless, puck moving guys. Once again, Taylor Hall is still the better player, but Adam Larson has had a good year for Edmonton. Andre Sekera there. So, I like what they have, and I think the youth and speed is going to give the Sharks trouble, at least with the injuries. If there was all health there with the Sharks, I probably would maybe give them the respect there, but I think it's going to be a tough draw. I see it going 7. I'll give it to the Oilers.
If the Sharks have a glimmer of hope very quickly, I'll say it lies in one player. Tomas Hertl's been playing as a third-line center since being played with Mikkel Bodker and Jannik Hansen. They've been excellent together. The Sharks' last game against the Oilers, I think they had something like nearly 70% puck possession against the McDavid line, which McDavid still scored a goal against them. But if you have the puck, upwards of 60% of the time against McDavid, even upwards of 50, you're going to take it. So if Hertl can, kind of mitigate McDavid, and Couture and Thornton don't have to be super effective, they just have to do well in minutes against worse players, then I can see the Sharks having a chance. That's just a huge if, and I don't want to bank on it. Plus, I'd be happy to be wrong, so I'm hedging. I'm hedging my bets this way.
It's the safe out here. If you're either pleasantly surprised or you're like, "Well, I told you so." So it's good.
And I will say about Edmonton, I'm looking at their rolling 25 game averages for puck possession. They have not matched their early season heights. They
have not.
They're right below the 50% line. They're right below the Mendoza line. McDavid can mitigate that, especially in this series against San Jose. But San Jose has the better depth forwards, and if they can use that depth against the Oilers, that's where they'll be in trouble. I like the Oilers in this round. I don't know how much I like them beyond this round, though.
Yeah, I'm with you here, Marcus. We'll move right up. We'll stick with the West then. We'll go to Anaheim and Calgary here, Marcus. Anaheim finishing the season 11-0-3 in their last 14 games, trending upwards, and were able to win that division that it seemed like the Sharks had locked up for a long time here. Going against a Calgary team who, once again, we've talked about for a couple of years, we have no idea what the makeup of the Calgary Flames is. They have a very varying mix of highly skilled players. When you look at Dougie Hamilton or Johnny Hockey up there, Sean Monahan, mixed with a kind of a bunch of scrappy undertone players, if you will, there, Marcus. For me, though, I really got to say I like the way Calgary has been playing towards the end of the season here, Marcus. Anaheim has been playing towards the end of the season. To me, it's just they're in a different world compared to Calgary. I see this as probably maybe the most lopsided series. I don't know if I take Calgary very seriously. I'd probably give it to Anaheim. I'll give them 6 games because Calgary seems to always steal a few.
I am not as confident in the Ducks as you are. They have played well, but I personally do not believe in Randy Carlisle.
That's true. I know you're not against. I know you're against Randy Carlisle.
I do not believe in a Randy Carlisle coach team.
I don't believe them either. But
I've got the Flames in 7 games.
Wow.
The Flames have definitely not played as well of late, but at their best, they're at their their peak, so to speak, possession-wise. They were a better team than the Ducks. Trending right now, the Ducks are definitely trending in that direction. And I don't think Calgary's won in like 14 years or something against the Ducks, but I just, maybe I think the Ducks are getting, ironically, their most favorable first-round matchup that they've gotten in the first round in a long time.
No, I
More
would
so than they ever had under Bruce Boudreau, but I still don't trust Randy Carlisle. I can't believe I'm saying I'm trusting Glenn Gulutzin more, but I don't know. I like Calgary's makeup. I like their high end skill. We don't know the identity of the skill going forward, but I really like their blue line. Giordano didn't score as many points this year, but Dougie Hamilton's been awesome.
Blue line's awesome.
And I think the Cam Fowler injury is going to be really big for the Ducks.
I haven't checked. What's the verdict on Fowler? Do they think he's going to be ready to go for game 1?
I'm looking it up right now, but as I saw a headline today, like Shea Theodore may draw in game 1 for the Ducks. I'm pulling up this Puck Daddy article right now on if Cam Fowler is going to open the door for Shea Theodore. Yeah, it looks like Fowler's very much up in the air for game 1 on Thursday. So we'll see. I think the Ducks still have a really, really good blue line, even without Cam Fowler. That's part of the reason you've heard about him getting dangled in trades. I don't know. I think the Ducks are good, but I think I don't think some of these performances are sustainable. I don't think Richard Rakell is a 30-goal player, and I think Ryan Kessler's fighting off the effects of aging a little bit. Obviously, Getzlaf and Perry are great. I like the Flames in 7. I don't know. I have a feel. This is the same team that has been upset in the past, and they have a worse coach. Give me the Flames.
Okay, I like it. All right, I'm going to take the Ducks in 6. But listen, what surprised me, the Flames, they're just kind of pains in the butt. So move away up. Little Midwestern action here, Marcus. Minnesota, St. Louis. Minnesota, probably the best team they've had there in probably their franchise history as far as depth-wise goes. St. Louis, good on them. They got rid of Shattenkirk, and they still fought their way into the playoffs. They've been playing some good hockey, actually, in St. Louis. Mike Yeo going a bit up against his former team, maybe a little bit of a
narrative.
What's that?
The narrative.
The narrative, Mike Yeo going against his former team. Marcus, Minnesota and St. Louis, 2 teams I liked throughout the year. I was very impressed with the way St. Louis played down the stretch. I'll be completely honest. I didn't expect it to happen. I thought they'd maybe slip in as a second wild card team. Good for them getting the 3 spot there. But I've been on the Minnesota train from pretty early on in the season. I like their depth. They have not been playing well lately, but we are both Bruce Boudreau guys. I think he's due a little bit. They got Dubnyk back there. They have some depth in Minnesota, which I've always liked. They're probably the deepest team. Did they overpay for Martin Hanzal? Yes, they absolutely paid for Martin Hanzal, as Christian Bale can tell you. But it's still, having him on your third line out there in West, a big guy like that, could still play some power play times, could slide up if need be. I like them. I like Minnesota here, Marcus. I just think they're a little bit deeper. Good for St. Louis, who's in a bit of a transition. We'll see how they handle themselves going forward. And I think if they handle themselves like they have, they could kind of transition on the fly, if you will, in the rebuild, if losing some key pieces the past couple of years. But give me Minnesota. I don't even think it gets to 7 games. I'll take that one in 6 also.
I have the Wild in 7. I think just because of how volatile the Wild have been at times, specifically how volatile their goaltending has been.
Yeah, I know. Dubnyk, who's been such a great goalie, it seems, the past 2 years, has almost lost his cool a little bit lately.
Yes, and I think St. Louis. That being said, I still give the Wild the edge. I'm looking at their 25-game rolling average of score and menu adjusted Corsi. Wild are back up to 52% Corsi over their last 25 games. St. Louis 50.38. It's a slight difference, but I think that can definitely that kind of marginal difference makes a huge impact in a series like this. I also really like I just like their chances more than St. Louis because even with Dubnyk's implosion, I trust their goaltending more.
Yeah, so exactly.
I still don't think Jake Allen's very good. They didn't get great playoff goaltending from Brian Elliott at times last year, but Brian Elliott has played a lot better lately for the Flames. I give me the Wild in 7. I think it's going to be, I think this series is kind of getting underestimated a little bit. A lot of people are saying how bad it's going to be and how boring it's going to be. I think it still has the potential for an entertaining series.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Definitely 2 fan bases starved for a little bit of playoff success. 2 coaches starved for a bit of playoff success. Boudreau hasn't been out of the first round in a couple years, and Yo definitely wants to stick it to the Wild. So I'm intrigued by this one. Give me the Wild in 7, though. I like I do like their team. I don't know how much I like them getting out of this division, but I do like their chances against St. Louis. I think it'll be a long, fun series.
Yeah, that should be a good one here, and we'll move our way up. The last Western Conference matchup. One that pulls at my heartstrings a little bit, Marcus, because obviously we're big Predators guys. Marcus, I don't know if you got a chance to, if you could, I don't know if it was recorded. PK Subban was on the NHL Network radio yesterday, I believe with Mike Johnson and Dave Koulos. What an interview! All I could think of was, man, does this guy have a future in media afterwards? Because he was fantastic. Love PK Subban. I think you're going to be a little bit disappointed in how the Predators wound up as far as their standings-wise. And then, of course, they draw the Chicago Blackhawks, who are getting healthier. Artem Anisimov is coming back. If they can get that Panarin, Kane, and Anisimov line for a while, they were the best line in hockey there. Corey Crawford, been iffy at times this season. Hasn't had as strong of a year as you would like, but he's still a great goaltender. Marcus, I want, and every bone in my body wants to pick the Nashville Predators to pull off the upset. I just wish they got a better matchup in the first round because I don't see it happening. I see the Chicago Blackhawks. I think it's going to be tough. I think it goes 7 games. Blackhawks at home in the United Center, hard to beat them. I'm going to give the Blackhawks the edge as much as I don't want to.
Yeah, I went Hawks in 7 as well. I think this is definitely for me. In the West, the best series of the first round. This is the one I'm going to be watching most closely. I'm looking right now at. I think there's more hope for the Preds, even though it is Chicago. This is not the same Chicago team we've seen necessarily in previous years.
It's not. It is not. I agree.
They haven't improved their puck possession. But adjusting for score, Nashville was the 7th best Corsi team in the league. Chicago 10th in terms of Fenwick. Nashville was 11th and Chicago was 15th. So not quite at the heights the teams reached the last 2 seasons. I'm looking at their 25-game rolling average right now. Over the last 25 games, Nashville 51.28 score in venue adjusted Corsi for percentage. Chicago 51.48. So this is going to be a great series. And Rene's played better than Corey Crawford down the stretch.
Oh, yes. And good for Rene, who once again got off to a slow start. Actually finished the season with a .918 save percentage. I mean, he was down in the .912 range for a lot of the season. So it really shows you the strong play he has. I mean, if he could be the Rene, if we saw maybe, it's tough to go back 4 years, but, he hasn't been the same. He's been injured a bunch. I want so bad. I'll be rooting for the Predators. My heart says Predators. My mind says Blackhawks. I like to go by the data, so I'm going to take the Blackhawks in 7 in a tightly.
Yeah, I think it's going to be tight because even the difference between Rene and Crawford over the last 25 games is half a percentage point, which can be a lot. But I just this series screams toss up to me. So I'm going to go with Chicago. I think they've played a little better. But if Nashville gets out of this series, I wouldn't be surprised. I think if this doesn't go 7 games, I'll be shocked. If this goes less than 7, I'm not going to make any obscene promises because there's always a chance. But this is the series that I'm circling in the West as the one to pay attention to. I think it might be the best one in the first round in general.
Oh, I think it is. I think there's one in the East, Marcus, that's going to come close. You know what? Let's stick out West. We'll get to the finals out West, and then we'll go back East, and we'll eventually be in the middle if you're cool with that. Sure. So that means we have Chicago, Minnesota. I have Anaheim, Edmonton. You have Calgary, Edmonton. So let's go to that series where we have the difference in opinion there. Marcus, you got Calgary, Edmonton, the Battle of Alberta. You're a PR mastermind with the NHL, Marcus. We know how you're setting this up here.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly not for American NHL.
Red versus blue, although I guess now it's red versus orange. The Edmonton Oilers are claiming to themselves. Okay,
all right.
So you got Calgary Edmonton. I got Ducks Edmonton. Who you taking in your series, Mark?
I'm going to take the Oilers. I think they're a better team than the Flames. I think the Flames will have their. I think that's an area where those teams are going to be so similar. But I think the top end skill of Edmonton's better. I think it's even though I said I don't know how much I like Edmonton's chances to get out of the first round seemingly minutes ago. The more I think about it, this is a year where it's set up for them to have a sneaky conference finals run. The Pacific is not great. Edmonton's played a lot better lately. Calgary played very well down the stretch, but the division isn't very good. I think the Flames are maybe a little bit better of a possession team than the Oilers, certainly lately, but over the course of a whole season's worth of a sample size, they're not. Give me the Oilers in that one. I think that's another 7-gamer. I'd say Oilers in 7, and McDavid is in the conference finals.
A lot of fun there. I got Ducks and Oilers, and I'm going to do it from another PR standpoint, Marcus, because I'm going to set up what is going to be a classic Western Conference final. I think in heartbreaking fashion, the Oilers lose to the Ducks in Game 7. McDavid hits the post in overtime. It goes the other way. And just to troll you, Marcus, Ryan Kessler gets a garbage deflection.
Of course. Yeah, of course.
Somehow is allowed. Ducks go to the conference final. But we're moving up the ladder, Marcus.
Yes.
And it's Minnesota-Chicago. But I'm going to give Bruce Boudreau his chance back.
Wow!
I'm going Minnesota in 7 with the upset over Chicago. I am not picking Chicago because it is so boring. I cannot pick the Blackhawks again. Minnesota and Ducks in the conference final.
Yeah, I like the rematch angle. Certainly a rematch of the 2003 Western Conference Finals.
Of course. Who doesn't remember?
Minnesota fans can finally get their revenge. I'm going to pick Chicago in that one. I'm going to pick Chicago in 6. They've played so well lately, and even with their struggles, I don't think Minnesota is as good. I think Chicago's rookie depth is really coming around.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I did mention Corey Crawford hasn't been great lately. Neither has Devin Dubnyk, but that I can definitely see one where Dubnyk stands on his head and the Wild steal it in 7. Yeah, I like Chicago coming out of that series. So I have Chicago, Edmonton. You have Minnesota, Anaheim. Who do you like to go to the Cup final out of the West?
Minnesota. I'm sticking with them. I liked Minnesota early in the year. Listen, logic. Obviously, I think I should pick the Blackhawks, but I'm gonna go to reverse here.
Good.
Make it a little fun for people. And I've always just kind of liked the Minnesota band. I think hockey, state of hockey, man, they could use a run, and this is as good of a chance as they probably have ever had to make that run. It sucks that you got to go through Chicago to do it. I think you got to beat the best. I'll take Minnesota. Bruce Boudreau getting his revenge over the Ducks in 6 games. Minnesota out of the West to go to the Stanley Cup final.
As boring as it is, and as much as I hate myself for it, I'm going to pick the Blackhawks in 6. I know. They've played so well lately, and I have it as Chicago Edmonton conference final because I think just the way the breaks are breaking for both those teams.
To be honest, if that happened, it would not surprise me at all. Like
it's breaking for them. Like to have it. Oh, great! They're gonna have this path because everything's going right for them. Chicago's played well. Chicago gets arguably their toughest test in the first round.
Yeah,
arguably.
Yeah.
Arguably. Even though you have Minnesota, I think Nashville's going to frustrate them. But yeah, I have the Chicago Blackhawks in the Cup final, as much as it pains me to say it. But I do not have them winning the Cup final.
Okay, dramatics. We'll tease it with that. So we started with Marcus's Sharks out west. We'll start with my Rangers against the Montreal Canadiens out east. Marcus, I'm going to make a comparison to some times of yesteryears at Syracuse. 2014 in the NCAA bracket. Syracuse, I believe they were the 1 seed that year. They might have been the 2. They were the 1. Regardless, they lost in the second round to Dayton.
Yeah.
And everyone was picking Cuse to make a run, and I picked Dayton to beat them in the second round in my bracket. And people said, how could you do that? You're a Syracuse, student, you're a fan.
Right.
I said, logically, the only team I've watched consistently all season long is Syracuse, and I know they're not that good.
Right.
So I'm going to say the exact same thing about the New York Rangers. And it's not even that the Rangers aren't that good. It's because their head coach isn't that good. So the Rangers, I said early in the year, the way their forward group is set up, if they had gotten, a Kevin Shattenkirk probably and Brandon Smith, I think they could make a run to the Stanley Cup. But you have to use those players the right way, Marcus.
Correct.
It all comes back. Brandon Smith, he's been a nice addition. He's not necessarily a, scorer, a shot supplier, but he's a shot suppressor. He does not allow a lot coming into the zone. He's pretty much always around even to a little bit plus when in his Corsi per game. He's been fantastic. Brady Shea's been a fantastic addition to the Rangers blue line this year in his rookie season. Actually had more points than Justin Falk and Aaron Ekblad. He had a fantastic year. And, of course, you have Ryan McDonough. So there's 3 really good defensemen. And the other problem I have with this team is the other 3 defensemen that are in the lineup. They have Jan Girardi in the first line, Mark Stahl in the second, and then they have Nick Holden also on the second line with Mark Stahl. I mean, and then there also looks like they're going to play Tanner Glass over Pavel Buchnevich on the fourth line.
Is Peary playing, or is he scratched?
He's mostly been scratched the second half of the year. He got off to a hot start. I'm still a Brendan Peary fan myself.
Of course.
But listen, I think forward-wise, the Rangers have a better group. I think defensively and goaltending-wise, Montreal has the better group. I think if Michel Therrien was still the coach of Montreal, I would pick the Rangers.
Yeah.
But because Claude Julien's in there, he's a smart guy. His teams are always driving possession, yet they're also still so locked down defensively. It's almost amazing how he pulls it off. I'm giving the edge to Montreal. I don't trust the Rangers as far as I could throw them. If they somehow miraculously after game 1 decided, you know what, we're going to put Adam Clendening in the lineup, maybe put Kevin Klein in the third pairing and put in Buchnevich or Peary on the fourth line, okay, then maybe I give it to them. I'm not. Give me Habs in 6. I just don't see it happening other way. Unless
I'm with you on the Habs. I got Montreal in 6 as well. I think I agree. You well said. If they had Michel Therrien, I could. But they don't, and now they have Claude Julien, and now they're the 4th best Corsi team in the league, adjusting for score according to Puck on Net. If you're not checking Puck on Net, you should. And 4th best in Fenwick according to Puck on Net. Claude Julien's a good coach, as he showed in Montreal. Definitely righted the ship there. What briefly looked like a tenure where they might lose the division, they locked that up pretty easily. I agree with you. I like their defensive group. I'd like their defensive group more if they had PK Subban, but that's okay. Frankly, if they don't make that trade and they have Claude Julien, I think this is potentially a Stanley Cup contender. I don't see them getting out of the East the way their roster is constructed. Give me the Habs in 6. I'd love to see it. I think this is going to be a fun goaltending matchup. If Lundqvist and Price are on, this could be one of the all-time great goaltending duels, but that's asking a lot given how both of them have frankly played lately. Price has not been very good of late. He's been a little better, but has not certainly reached the heights that he set at the beginning of the season. Yeah, give me Montreal in 6.
Rangers just need Chris Kreider to get tripped again, and maybe we'll have something going. But
and Alain Vigneault will be fired if they lose. Yes.
He got an extension like a couple months ago. My dream scenario is if the Rangers are going to lose in the first round, then they go and hire Daryl Sutter over there. So
that'd be nice.
That'd be nice. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I'll take Habs in 6. Moving back in the Atlantic, where none of the Atlantic teams actually are on the Atlantic Ocean except for Boston. Ottawa and Boston, Marcus. Once again, Boston probably in better shape if they had Claude Julien still there. That being said, it's going to be an interesting matchup solely because of how Ottawa plays. And they play such a boring – the 1-3-1 it's sometimes mind-numbing hockey to watch. But they're going to be patient, and that's what they're going to do up there. And I think it's going to be a good series. I'm going to take Boston here. I still like the way Boston is built. I like Tuukka Rask a lot. I think he's been playing better. I still take Boston. I think Ottawa has definitely turned the corner for me at least a little bit down the stretch here. But I'm still going to take Boston. Good series. I'll take Boston in 6 games as well, though.
I think Boston's resurgence, and it's kind of been lost since, Julien has another job. But, they were due for that resurgence under him.
They were due under Claude Julien. So it doesn't, I don't think it's surprising.
the underlying statistics, I mean, indicate that. And look at their possession numbers. They're not reaching the heights that they were in the last 25 games, and that's really how much Cassidy's coached. They're not playing as well as they were possession wise when they were coached by Julian. They're a much better puck possession team, even with that, than the Ottawa Senators.
Yeah, Ottawa. Well, because Ottawa doesn't, they don't play that game. They pretty much just sit.
But somehow Boston has lost 4 games this season to the Ottawa Senators,
which is mind blowing.
So I was fully prepared in making my picks to go Boston in 5. Then I saw that and I'm like, okay, 4 games. Ottawa's doing something to frustrate the Bruins. I haven't watched nearly enough or got deep enough with the numbers.
The most boring hockey game I've ever watched in my life. I went to the Rangers Senators in November, and the Senators won 2-0. The Rangers had 3 scoring chances in the game. Oh, they limit chances. They do. It's to their credit. I mean, I think Boston is a better team than the Rangers, but still, it's there. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, give me the Bruins in 7. I think Ottawa will frustrate them. They have the best player in the series in Erik Karlsson. That's going to go a long way. But yeah, as much as it pains me, because I really don't like the Bruins and I don't like what they did this offseason. I think they're not. I mean, their window is creeped open because of how the divisions are set up.
I truly
believe that. True. Frankly, the same with San Jose, even as their window is quote unquote closing. Like Edmonton still, if the Sharks are healthy, like Edmonton's, if you just have to get past Edmonton in your division, you're like, okay, we'll build our team to beat them and hope we can get out of a conference final. Like the Atlantic division is just so weak that like Boston, it's like, oh, they're going to go to the second round. And if they upset Montreal, wow, they're in a conference final. But like I think it's a mirage because of how the divisions are set up. But yeah, give me the Bruins in 7, setting up a Claude Julien Boston, as if Montreal-Boston wasn't exciting enough.
That's going to be great. That's going to be great drama. It's going to be good drama in the second round. We finish up the first round of the East here. Washington-Toronto. Marcus, I'm going to say it now. I've said it before. If the Capitals do not win the Stanley Cup this year, they should fold the franchise. Okay? Yeah. That's it. It's done. They should be done. Go merge with somebody else. I don't really care. That being said, Toronto is shooting themselves in the foot, because I honestly think Toronto could have made a run at the conference finals had they just got into that 2 or 3 spot.
Agreed.
And now I have to play Washington. Toronto, this is the start of their dynasty over the next decade plus. I truly believe that. They're in the playoffs. It'd be a good experience for them. Washington's just too good, Marcus. Washington is just too good. Toronto will steal a game in Toronto to keep it entertaining for the fans. Washington in 5. There's no way I see it otherwise.
I went Washington in 6. I think the Pucky Leafs steal. I think they're going to get an overtime winner, and the Air Canada Center, the roof will get blown off.
That'd be fun.
Even though this series is going to be quick, I think this is going to be a very fun series.
Oh, it's going to be a great series to watch from an entertainment standpoint.
I think this is right up there with Nashville, Chicago for me in terms of first round series. But yeah, give me the Caps in 6. I really, really like their team. They're playing extremely well. The Shattenkirk trade, I mean, we talked about it when we had Christian Bale on the show. Like that was one of the greatest, all-in trades I think we've seen, certainly on paper. Yeah, so give me that. Give me the Caps in 6, which brings us to Penguins Jackets. The Jackets have not played well lately.
Nah, they haven't. I think this will be a fun series, and as far as the series I was referring to, as far as fun in the East, simply from the rivalry standpoint, there was a blast of a series. Was it 3 years ago?
Yep.
Pittsburgh wound up pulling it out, but obviously, Marc-Andre Fleury had his issues in that series, and Columbus had a couple of dramatic wins. In your face hockey, Marcus. Torts versus Sully here. Sully is Torts is right here
versus apprentice.
So if you want, exactly. So you want to say Torts is the old vet. I think Sully has a bit more new age in him, which gives him a bit of an edge when it comes to coaching. And I'm become a big Mike Sullivan fan for that reason. It'll be a fun series. I think it'll be an ugly series. A little bit concerned, Marcus. I don't know if you heard this about Matt Murray starting the series. Has been banged up. Could create even more controversy if Marc-Andre Fleury starts maybe game 1. They said possibly the first 2 games, actually.
Wow.
Going into it. Could be an issue. Penguins been banged up. Sounds like Gino's coming back, though. Olimata played the last game of the season. excuse me, Letang done for the year. That being said, will be a fun series. Will be an entertaining series. Probably the most fights in the first round could be in this series. Yeah. I think will be great.
They don't like each other.
They don't like each other. They're very close. Columbus versus Pittsburgh. I'm going to take the Penguins in a hard-fought, bloodied 7-game series. Pittsburgh advances.
Yeah, give me Penguins in 6. The Letang loss is huge, but they're still so good. In terms of Master versus Apprentice rematches, this is Darth Vader versus Obi-Wan Kenobi on the Death Star.
I like it.
Except John Tortorella won't get struck down by his own accord. He'll just get struck down because Mike Sullivan has, the new, like you said, the new age in him. Give me the Penguins in 6. The Murray thing is definitely a little bit of a concern. He's been very, very good this season. But if Fleury plays well, the goaltending controversy
it'd be hilarious.
Will never seem to end. So we have the Penguins both advancing. That will bring us to a pretty ideal second round in the East. Boston, Montreal, and Washington, Pittsburgh. Let's start with Washington, Pittsburgh, though. I think given the Letang injury, I think the Caps in 6.
That's a game breaker for me.
If Letang was healthy, I'd say it's still Caps in 7, but you look at these rosters and, the Caps are deeper on the blue line. Yeah. They're deeper up front. They're better in net. And they're a better team than they were last year. And frankly, last year they were had fortune against the Penguins more than anything. Give me the Caps in 6. I think that'll still be a fun series, but I think it's going to end like it did last year with an overtime winner and the Capitals advancing.
Good for you. I agree with that. I just, Letang would make a difference maker. He's that good of a player. One of the premier defensemen in the NHL. Caps in 6. Go to the conference finals. We on the other side of the map. Good rivalry matches. Like you said, in both scenarios we have here: Pittsburgh, Washington, Boston, Montreal. I think it's an NHL from a marketing standpoint, PR standpoint, a dream. Boston, Montreal. Claude Julien's revenge against Boston. He's going for it.
Yes.
Will be an ugly series. Marcus, I probably switched my pick on this series about 15 times. I literally could not decide who I wanted to pick. Because part of me wants Claude Julien to just rub it in Boston's face. But at the same time, I like Boston's makeup. And I really don't like either team at all. I don't like either team. I don't like their management. I don't like the team in general. They've been a pain in the butt. I flip-flopped a million times. It's going to go 7 games. And on paper, I have written in front of me, and I'm second-guessing it even again as we speak. But I like them, and I actually picked Boston to beat them in 7 games.
Interesting. This is going to pain me because you're going to have, if Montreal wins, you're going to have media writers saying how PK Subban's out, and therefore Montreal made the right decision, even though Montreal plays in the Atlantic, which is about as opposite of the Central as you can get. So there's that. But also, if Boston wins, it'll be a testament to, you're going to have Joe Haggerty writing a "Grit is back" column. I
know. It's a nightmare scenario for us.
Literally the nightmare for those
terrible.
2 days before the conference finals begin. But give me the Habs in 7.
Sure, yeah.
Their teams are so even. I'm going to go with the better head coach, and I think
that's fine. I completely can get that. You go better head coach.
I think Claude Julien is a very, very underrated coach. It's not a surprise that he was unemployed for as short as he was. See the Habs in 7, setting up Montreal, Washington in the Stanley Cup the Western Conference Final.
Eastern Conference Final.
I got it wrong 3 times. Whatever.
Yeah, I got if it's Montreal, Washington, or Boston, Montreal, or Boston, Washington. Excuse me.
Because I got it all wrong.
Yeah, that's fine. Just whatever. Just make it up as we go here. Taking the Caps in probably 6 games, regardless. Maybe a game 7 goes to the conference final if, Tuukka or Carey Price were to go to stand on your heads in our respective brackets. Capitals to the Stanley Cup, Marcus. We've been on this train since the beginning of the year. They've only gotten better. And like I keep saying, if the Caps don't win, I don't know if they'll ever win because they have potential 7 UFAs that they are pretty much not going to be able to bring back, at least half of them, if you will, if they hit the open market.
They're going to split one of them in half. In 5
yeah,
minutes.
Exactly. 3.5 players maybe they could bring back. Yeah, give me the Caps. I got it against the Bruins. I'll take the Caps in 6 games in the conference final. Finally getting to the Stanley Cup for Ovi. Hell, finally getting to an Eastern Conference final for Ovi. Let's start with that.
Yeah, I'm going Caps in 5 if they play when they play Montreal. The Capitals are a better team. I think they're better at even. And this is going to be maybe the hottest take I've dropped all day. So get ready. I think Braden Holtby is a better goalie right now than Carey Price.
Oh, hot takes. Hot takes.
And you have the edge. They have the edge in every facet of the game.
Every facet of the game. Every facet.
So I've got a Caps Chicago Stanley Cup final. You've got Caps Minnesota, the Bruce Boudreau revenge tour.
I know he's short. I'm giving him every ounce of credit in the world. But Marcus, for my money, he falls 1 game short. Washington Capitals, Game 7, quadruple overtime winner. Backstrom to Ovechkin on the wall. God. Classic. Ovi actually goes for a board celebration, actually breaks the glass. So now he's in the crowd, mob scene celebration.
People are cut up with broken glass.
But it doesn't matter. They're happy. They're pouring beer on it just to clean it all up. It doesn't matter. The Washington Capitals finally win their Stanley Cup, Marcus, in dramatic fashion. Whether they, beat Minnesota or Chicago, that could be your decision on your other end. But I'm giving it to Caps. Like I said, they don't win now. They're never going to win. So I'm all aboard the Caps train. Let's see Ovi finally lift that cup.
Yeah, I got Caps Chicago, which is, other than Chicago-Pittsburgh is the Stanley Cup final matchup that Gary Bettman salivates over on a nightly basis.
Yeah.
I like the Caps in 6 in that series. I think, again, they're just better in every the Caps are the best team.
They are.
In the league, by far.
Yeah, I think it's
second is probably Pittsburgh when they're fully healthy, but
third is probably Chicago. So yeah.
So and I think this, like you said, if it doesn't happen this year, it may never happen in Washington. This is their best chance.
Yeah,
they've got a great coach. They've got a great forward group. Ovi didn't have a great year this year. Only 60. I think he had 69 nice points.
Nice.
But he still scored 30 goals. And the rest of the team was so good that they stepped up to shoulder the load. TJ Oshie was awesome. Evgeny Kuznetsov is one of my favorite players in the league. Backstrom, very quietly, was a top 10 player in the league this year.
Backstrom was in Hall of Fame, but no, I actually do think he will be a Hall of Famer. But Backstrom was in he was in Hart Trophy contention, I think, for a while there. I really think that's how good he was playing. And he still might get a few votes there, but the Caps are built for it this year in every aspect of the game. Down the middle, their entire 12-man forward group, their blue line, their goaltending. And like you said, and they have a great coach as well, and Barry Trotz. I'm a big Barry Trotz fan. It's all in this year for the Caps. So Marcus and I, a little bit of a different path to get there. But
same end result.
Same end result. The Washington Capitals, your 2016-17 Stanley Cup champions. Ovi finally gets his due and would be the first Russian-born captain to win the Stanley Cup. So that would also be a nice little story there, if you will.
Who's your Conn Smythe winner?
Conn Smythe, if that's the case, it's going to be Nick Backstrom. I think Backstrom is just, and I think to his credit, he probably enjoys it. He's a pretty soft-spoken guy, but he's always been in the shadow of Ovechkin, who's obviously got the flair and the sexiness and is sometimes outspoken and a funny guy. I think Backstrom would win the Conn Smythe. Holtby would be right there too, probably. But I think Holtby, I actually think it's to Holtby's disadvantage. The Caps are such a good team.
Yeah.
That he probably won't have to be as good as, say, a Corey Crawford or a Devin Dubnyk if their teams are going to go and make a run, or a Carey Price. So because of that, Nick Backstrom will be my playoff MVP.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Holtby. I think he won't have to be that good. I just think he will be that good.
Yeah, he just will be that good. Yeah,
I think he's the best goalie in the NHL. I think, Bobrovsky probably is the Vezina winner if I had to guess right now. But I think Holtby definitely is top 3. Give me Holtby, the Holt Beast, as the Conn Smythe winner. So we both like the Caps. You can take both of our picks to the bank. Frankly, you can bet either the way that Conall picked or the way I picked, and there's a good chance that you're going to make a lot of money because we're just clearly the greatest analysts when it comes to this. But it looks like we're winding down. Is there anything else you wanted to hit on, but other than just general excitement for the playoffs? Anything?
Yeah, I think it's the best or worst time of the year, depending on your opinion. It's always fun, and it's emotionally draining, and staying up late nights to watch the West Coast games. Probably won't get much sleep here, but and it's worth in the end. It is so much fun to watch. Honestly, probably the first round is maybe my favorite time of the playoffs, the first 2 weeks, because there's so many games on. There's constantly, you're switching channels. Once you get to the later rounds, it's like, every other night and whatnot. So I think it's a lot of fun potentially with these first round series. I think there's some teams, good for Toronto, good for Edmonton teams we didn't expect to be there. Florida, Tampa Bay,
Ottawa,
missing out. So a lot of teams that you kind of expected. Dallas obviously fluttering out. LA not there. So
Dallas had a rough season.
Some new blood, which I think is good for hockey. And it'll be a lot of fun. It always is. And I love the playoffs. I will be probably furious by this time. No, we still got time. So in about 16 hours, maybe I'll be really pissed off at this point tomorrow night as the Rangers have a miserable first period. But hey, it's exciting. And honestly, you never know. We've seen crazy things in the playoffs before, so you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I'll probably be upset by this time next week, even though I'm expecting the Sharks to lose. I'll probably be upset. But yeah, I'm excited. Real quick, I do think we should mention, of course, the mulleted elephant in the room. Jaromir Jagr is mum on his future as to whether or not he will return next season. Was interviewed today at Locker Room Cleanup. He said, we'll wait and see. What happens, happens. If he's not in the league next year, I'm going to cry.
He'll be there. He was still, like third or fourth on the Panthers in scoring?
He still had 47 points.
There was
some article that was like, oh, he had a disappointing year. I'm like, because he was 45 and scored as many points as years he's been on the earth.
I know, seriously. Come on, man.
Last year was the outlier when he was nearly a point-a-game player. He's still a great second-line winger. But yeah, Yogs has to be back at least one more year. And I'm looking forward to the postseason here. So thank you, as always, folks, for tuning in. We hope to check in definitely before the expansion draft with some thoughts on how the postseason. Yeah,
I think the goal should be to try to maybe after each round of the playoffs, if we could do it, just
once a round. I like it.
Even if it's a 20 or 30-minute little show here, just to kind of recap the rounds and injuries and prove how right or wrong we may or may not have been.
Most likely right.
Honestly, it's always right. So
yeah.
It'll be exciting. So I think that should be the goal going forward, and we'll still try to get Ian Prescott on to do another analytics thing. I know he was busy with the NCRHA championships.
That's right. Yeah, Fort Myers, Florida.
That's right. He seemed like he was having some fun down there. So go check out Ian on Twitter and us as well. Thank you guys as always. Enjoy the playoffs, or enjoy being in misery if your team didn't make it or you're down by 3 games all of a sudden and it seems irrelevant. At least you got baseball around the corner here. It just started. So enjoy it, folks. Go Rangers, go Sharks, even though we have no faith in either team.
Yeah, they're not getting out of the first round. Bye, guys.